Nader. I'm gonna screw this up. Banilohi.
You got it, man.
Okay, I thought it was the long A. It was a 50-50 shot. From my high school days. You are here to talk some NBA playoffs. So I reached out to you today. We're recording this on Tuesday. I reached out to you today. I was like, I want to do something for the NBA playoffs. I had some guys come to mind who I could ask on the show, and your name popped up. I was like, I owe him one because I meant to get in touch with you for the World Cup back in the fall, and it was during football season, so I was focused on that. Then Thanksgiving hit. Then next thing you know, it's the knockout round. I was like, well, it's too late now. I can't have him on to talk soccer, so I'm sorry about that. Or do you call it football?
I mean, call it football, call it soccer, same thing. We get the message with either one of them.
Right. All right. So, what are your thoughts? Do you consider the play-in tournament? Your Lakers are playing tonight in the play-in tournament. Do you consider this part of the postseason? Because I do.
Yeah, I mean, it's play-in's been in for 2 years now.
Was that started during the bubble and they just kept it?
Yeah, I think it started with the bubble, and at first, it was a little weird, but it sort of grown on me. It's not a bad idea. It sort of eliminates tanking to an extent. It gives some of the bottom teams a chance to try to get into the playoffs. So I like it. It's been a couple years. I hate the fact the Lakers are in it this year. I'd rather just be in the the actual playoffs, but. I feel like it creates a little bit more excitement, so I think it's warmed up to me now.
Okay. So do you want to break down the play-in tournament? Have the game started so far?
I don't think so. I think I know the Lakers play at 9:00, so they're 3 hours out. The first game might start right now, if I'm not mistaken.
It is, yeah. There's an East Coast game. It's the first quarter. We can go ahead and break it down. Hawks, Heat. I went with the Heat in this game in my blog.
Before I'm going to go say Heat. Give me the score right now at the first quarter.
It's 11-6.
Heat?
No, Hawks.
Hawks. Okay, I still think the Heat's going to win. I just feel like the Heat. Hawks. I've been hearing they're having a lot of issues, especially with Trae Young. He might get traded. They just had a coaching change. I feel like Miami has more seasoned vets for this kind of situation. I think the Heat. Well, the winner plays Boston, and you're a Celtics fan, so
I am.
I feel like you would rather want the Hawks to win than the Heat because the Heat always give the Celtics a tough time.
They do.
But I think they're gonna win.
Yeah, I went with the Heat. Now that you mention it, I would rather play the Hawks. They got some scores, but really Trae Young's the only threat. You try to limit him as much as you can. And I feel like we'll be in a good spot to win that series. I think that's a more favorable matchup. But to your point, what you said earlier, one-game playoff essentially. Give me the Heat and that playoff experience, on their roster and at head coach. So then the other game tonight is your Lakers against the Timberwolves.
Minnesota.
Yeah. I went with the Lakers for this one. What about you?
Well, the Lakers should win because Minnesota is going to be out. It's going to be without 3 players. It's going to be without Rudy Gobert.
That's right. They had that brawl on Sunday.
Yeah, they had a little internal fight, and Rudy Gobert, who's a big defensive presence, got himself suspended by the team for one game. So, AD for the Lakers should go off on this game. He should. Yeah. LeBron should go off too. If Jaden McDaniels is going to be out, that's one of their top defenders. LeBron should go off too. So, Lakers should win, but these are the kind of games where Lakers sort of screw it up. So it wouldn't surprise me one way or the other.
One of my good friends from college is a big Lakers fan, and he has been dogging this team all season long. Just, I think they'll win. They should win. Again, one game playoff. Give me the best player we've seen in the last decade in LeBron, even though I don't think he's the best player in the world right now. Just hard to pick against him in a one-game scenario, especially with Minnesota being shorthanded.
And at home. So
yeah, and the game's at home.
I think Lakers will win that game. I hope and I feel like they will.
So Wednesday night, the East Coast game is Bulls and Raptors. I went with the Raptors in that game. Not really scientific. They are the favorite, but I went with the Raptors.
That's a tough game. I'm going to pick the Raptors as well. They still have several pieces from their championship team that's still there. The Bulls are hit or miss, although the Bulls sort of finished the season nicely. They blew out the Lakers in one of the games a couple weeks ago. That's a tough game, but I'm going to say Raptors. They got the home field. Toronto always shows up for playoff games.
Yeah.
I think Raptors would win that game.
I would argue the Bulls, in the NBA especially, you have, I would say it's a big deal to have star power. It really doesn't come down to matchups. How many stars do you have on your team? At least it used to be that way, when we were in college. I would, for all I know, it still is that way. I would argue the Bulls probably have more star power. Don't they have DeMar DeRozan and a couple other guys?
DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, Vucevic. If they would have had Lonzo Ball, I think I would have probably picked the Bulls. But yeah, I feel like the Raptors just have a little bit more star power, if I had to say.
Okay. Well, my counter to that was the Raptors are very well run ever since losing Kawhi. I shouldn't say they haven't missed a beat, but they've been pretty feisty, even though they lost Kawhi.
Yeah. When they had Kawhi and Kyle Lowry, which was the two nucleuses of the team, they were like a top 3 seed in the East. Now they're sort of like at around the 6, 7, 8 range now. They're not too bad, but they're still pretty rock solid. On a good day, they could beat almost anyone.
So yeah, we're both going with the Raptors, and then in the West we have the Thunder and the Pelicans. I went with the home team for all of these. You don't see it a whole lot in the NFL or baseball, maybe not even hockey, but having the home advantage is a huge deal in the NBA. I was looking at some of the road records for these playoff teams. I was shocked how many of them have losing records on the road. Even in the West, I almost said Detroit, Denver and Memphis, I believe, the top 2 seeds in the West have losing records on the road.
Yeah, that's an interesting fact. Well, especially in the West Coast. West is a very wide open conference this year. So on any given day, your 8 seed, 7 seed can beat your 1 seed in the West.
Yeah.
So I could see that being the case this year.
So who do you got in the Thunder Pelicans?
I got the Pelicans. If Pelicans had Zion Williamson, I feel like they'd be a really good team this year, like a championship caliber team. I feel like OKC is still a couple years away. They're going to be really good in a couple years. They're still really young. SGA is still a beast. He won me my.
I was about to say when I was doing some research, I was looking up their scorers, and this dude averaged 31 a game. I'd heard of him. I never knew he was that good.
Oh, SGA is a beast. Well, the past couple of years, he's sort of been hurt. They would sort of sit him out. They've been tanking. But this year, they didn't really do that. They let him play. They weren't really tanking. They're really good. I just feel like they're a couple of years away. They don't have Chet Holmgren. He hasn't played all year. I think they're a year or 2 away. I think the Pelicans are more well-rounded. They have more vets on the team, like Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum. Yeah. If they can get Zion back for the playoffs, I think they can give the Nuggets, because they would face the Nuggets if they were to go through. I think the Pelicans could beat the Nuggets if they get Zion back.
So we both had the Heat and Lakers winning, so that gives them the 7 seed. So the Eastern Conference battle for the 8 seed would be the Hawks and who's the other team?
The Raptors.
Who do you got there?
I think the Raptors go into Atlanta to win that game. So that's if Atlanta loses tonight. But I think the Raptors would go into Atlanta and win. I have that.
What's that? Sorry, you cut out there. You cut out there.
I'm not too high on the Hawks. I think the Hawks would lose that.
Okay. I actually went with the Hawks. Yeah, I got you. I actually went with the Hawks. Home court, I don't know. I'm really big on home court in the NBA. And so then the other playing game is the Timberwolves, and we both have the Pelicans, I believe. Who do you see winning that game?
So they played a couple of days ago, actually, in Minnesota, and Minnesota beat them shorthanded. I think Minnesota would beat them with Rudy Gobert back, so I would go Minnesota.
Yeah, I went with Minnesota as well. Anthony Edwards is really good. Karl Anthony Towns is really good. And then, the three other guys that they have are also, key contributors. So I went with the Timberwolves as well. So let's start, I guess, in the East. So your 1-8 matchup is the Bucks and the Raptors, I believe?
Yeah.
Who do you see in that matchup? I would imagine the Bucks.
I think Bucks win easily. It could be a sweep, maybe 5, but I say Bucks easily.
Yeah, so mine is the Bucks and the Hawks. Going with the Bucks as well. They're really good defensively. And, like I said, if you limit Trae Young's touches and production, I think it's going to be a really difficult time for the Hawks. So the Bucks should win that game. Then the 4-5 matchup, I think could be pretty entertaining, is Cavs and Knicks.
Ooh, that could go 7 games. If Julius Randle plays, which I think he's supposed to get evaluated soon to see if he's going to be back, I would have had the Knicks winning. Cleveland's looking really good with Donovan Mitchell on that team, his first season. I'm going to say I say Cleveland wins in 7.
I had Cleveland as well. I don't remember if it was 7. It might have been. The Knicks, I wouldn't be so quick to rule them out. Is it Tom Thibodeau?
Yeah, Thibodeau.
Okay. Obviously a veteran coach. They don't have the star power as I would argue Cleveland does. But one thing with the Knicks is they're one of the, I think, 6 or 7 teams in the league that have a winning record at home and on the road. That could be a deciding factor in this series, especially for a team that doesn't have home court in the series. If they can steal 1 or 2 games, I think that they're going to be in a really good spot.
Yeah, for me, the biggest factor is if Julius Randle comes back. I feel like if Randle was to come back and, it's a 1-1 series, 2-2 series, I think New York would win that. I think Julius Randle's a big part of that team, and they got other good guards. They got Brunson's really good this year. R.J. Barrett, Josh Hart coming in is a great defender. I feel like if Randle was to come back and it's a tie series, I think New York would win. But if I'm assuming he's not going to play for the first 4 or 5 games, I'm going to go with Cleveland.
Yeah. I think Cleveland's an ascending team. I mean, they made the play-in tournament last year. I don't think they made the final bracket, though. But Darius Garland and Evan Mobley were their guys last year. Then they traded for Donovan Mitchell. Just that feels like a really good. Well, it was a really good move by them, obviously, but just exactly what they needed. A really star power player. To help lead their young roster to ascension. So I really like the direction Cleveland's heading.
Oh yeah, they're all young star power to his name. So. Oh, yeah, Cleveland's future looks really good.
So then the 3-6 matchup is Philly and Brooklyn. I got to give Brooklyn a lot of credit for getting a top 6 seed in the East, but I don't see them winning this series.
Yeah, I don't think they'll win either. I think Philly will win that maybe in 6 games, 5 or 6, but I think Philly wins that.
Yeah. So then my series, Boston, and we both have Miami. I think Miami's going to keep it close, but I am going to pick the Celtics to come out on top.
I think that's going to be an easy one. I think Celtics and Fox look really good. When Tatum and Brown are clicking, they're really hard to beat. So I got Celtics in 5 games.
I think I had Celtics in 6, but just I wouldn't rule out Miami, but I hear you. Boston looks really good this year. So then let's shift over to the West. The 1-8 matchup, I believe we both have Nuggets Timberwolves. Is that right?
Interesting one. I think Denver's going to win that, but I think Minnesota's going to give them a good fight. I'm going to say Denver in 6 in that one. Jokic, you got one of the best bigs in the world, Jokic. So go with Denver.
I went with Denver as well. I mean, kind of boring to keep going chalk, but I got Denver as well. Minnesota, I got to see it. Like, I like some of their guys, but they can only ever seem to get like an 8 seed in the tournament. And this has been going on even when they had like Andrew Wiggins and Towns, and they traded for Jimmy Butler, and I thought, oh, this team's ascending, and it seems like all they can ever get is an 8 seed.
Yeah.
So 4-5 matchup, I think is probably going to be the best first round matchup. Now I've forgotten who it is. I know
Phoenix and the Clippers.
Phoenix, yeah, thank you. Suns and Clippers. Who do you think?
Oh, I got Phoenix easily. They haven't lost yet with Kevin Durant in the lineup.
I saw that, yeah.
So I think Suns, and I mean, Clippers don't have Paul George. I think Suns win that in 5 or 6, maybe. I'll go with Suns.
That feels right. I'm to the point with the Clippers, like with Minnesota. I got to see it. When they got Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, I was like, well, this is now the team to beat in the West or whatever, and they really have nothing to show for it. I thought they hadn't made it past the second round, but they have actually, going back the last few years. But I'm going with Phoenix as well. They're red hot. Durant's healthy, it seems at least. So it seems like a easy path not an easy path, but win for the Suns. So the 3-6 matchup is Sacramento, a team that ends its playoff drought, against Golden State, the defending champs. I'm curious what you think about this, because I've seen a lot of people pick the Warriors. The Warriors even have the second best odds to win the West, according to Vegas.
Ooh, that's a tough one. So basically, Warriors, championship pedigree. They've been there for many years. And going up against the Kings, brand new team in the playoffs after 16-something years. I think experience wins this one. I'm going to go with Warriors. I'm going to go with 6 games. I think Warriors will win. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson. I feel like that's just too much power right there. Kings had a great story, but I feel like their youth is going to show in these kind of games. So, and they're a great team. I feel like they're going to be good for years to come. De'Aaron Fox is good. Sabonis is good. But I just feel like Steph Curry come playoff time is one of the greatest ever. He knows how to come up big. I think Warriors are going to be too much for them.
This is one where we're going to disagree. I'm going to ride with the Kings. I know I'm not an expert in the NBA like you are. Or I don't know the NBA like you know it. I don't know. First of all, with the Warriors, when I was doing a little research, they've won 10 games on the road, which is one of the worst in the NBA. They're not going to have home court, so they're going to have to steal one of these road games, which is something that they've struggled to do. On top of that, they've really struggled defensively on the road. I think they were bottom 5 in the league in defensive efficiency on the road. So just a lot of things going against them. I understand the reasons for picking them, though. But
yeah. And I feel like for the Warriors, what's good for them is they're not a far drive from Sacramento. So that's like a 2-hour drive. So you're going to see a lot of Warriors fans there. The road record's not the best, but a lot of that has to do with, Steph Curry not playing a lot of games. Klay Thompson didn't play some games here. Like, they had a very inconsistent lineup. I feel like now that they're healthy, I don't know what the status of Andrew Wiggins is. Andrew Wiggins has been gone for the last 2 months. So if he plays, he gives them that extra element. I feel like they can win. We'll see. I expect a lot of Warriors fans to be there still.
So our first disagreement. But I think that's going to be an entertaining series. So then the 2-7 is Memphis and the Lakers. I got a feeling you're going to go with the Lakers, but I actually think at the same time, I think you're going to go against your team.
I feel like that could be a coin flip almost. That's a really tough one. I'm going to go with Lakers in 7.
Okay.
I think Lakers beat them. I feel like we can with AD and LeBron in playoff situations.
Well, the Lakers have been playing a lot better in their last 15 games. I think they're 10-5. I would argue it's maybe a favorable matchup. The Lakers are experienced. The Grizzlies, are still very young. I went with the Grizzlies, but yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if the Lakers win this game. The reason why I'm going with Memphis is, although Ja Morant has been missing games, but I've already made the pick. It's solidified on my blog. I got to stick with it, so I'm going with the Grizzlies. Main reason though is I think LeBron, his days of taking over a series are kind of in the rearview mirror. What do you think?
He's not what he was maybe with the Cavs a couple years ago. I mean, he's not the dominant LeBron of a couple years. I think if he wants to. I feel like AD's really over. AD is clicking. I feel like he's unstoppable.
You keep cutting out. Sorry.
Did you get that part?
I think you said something about AD and unstoppable. I don't know.
Yeah, AD when AD is clicking, I feel like he's one of the best players in the world. So I feel like a lot's going to ride on AD on this series.
Okay. So second round, shift back over to the East. We both have Milwaukee and Cleveland meeting at the top half of the bracket. Who do you got?
I'm going to say Milwaukee.
Yeah,
Milwaukee's going to be big. Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton. I feel like they'll win that in maybe I'll give Cleveland 6 games, but I say Milwaukee in 6.
Yeah, I'm going with Milwaukee too. Just they have depth, best player on the court, experience. I think Cleveland's still kind of, I don't want to say figuring things out, but this is their first playoff run together with this core, and tough to beat a team like Milwaukee. So then the other matchup, Philly-Boston. Who do you got?
Oh, I got Boston easily. I think Boston and let's say maybe 6. I'm not a believer in Doc Rivers. I think Doc Rivers is one of the most overrated coaches ever. I feel like James Harden isn't really the best team player. I know Joel Embiid is probably going to win MVP and deservingly so, but Philly always has that they don't really have that it factor. They always come up short. Doc Rivers chokes. I'm going to say Boston. Boston, I feel like, is hungry to redeem themselves after that finals loss last year. So I'm going to say Boston and maybe 5. I'll go 6 games.
Yeah, Philly's another team. I got to see it. We've been hearing about how, with the whole trust the process deal and how good Joel Embiid is, and they really have nothing to show for it. This core has never been past the second round. I won't go as far to say I think Doc Rivers is an overrated coach. I would agree that he's probably not as good as advertised. But he won a championship with the Celtics, did a lot of good things with the Celtics, so it's hard for me to go against him. But I'm also going with the Celtics. They're just, when they're clicking, it's hard to beat them. And it feels like the Eastern Conference Finals is destined to be Milwaukee-Boston, barring any injuries.
I've had that for past 4 or 5 months. I've always said it's, Milwaukee and Boston. I feel like there's a drop-off from those two.
Yeah. So heading over to the West, we both have Denver and Phoenix.
I'm going to say Phoenix. I feel like with Kevin Durant, they're a more complete team. I feel like DeAndre Ayton can slow down Jokic to an extent. Chris Paul, Devin Booker. I feel like they're probably one of the deepest teams in the league now with Kevin Durant. So I'm going to go with Phoenix. And I know Kevin Durant's going to be hungry to win with this team, especially with the stuff you have to go through in Brooklyn. So I'm going to say Phoenix.
I also went with Phoenix. I hate to keep saying this, but Denver, I got to see it. You can tell me how good is it Jokic?
Yeah, Jokic.
Jokic. You can keep telling me how good he is, but they don't really have anything to show for it. And I think that they're a talented team. I've picked them to go on deep runs in the past, and they've let me down. So I'm to the point I got to see it. And then, just as you said, Phoenix is just going to be really good, I think. they're just now finding their footing with this group since acquiring Durant, and just feels like they're going to go on a deep playoff run here. So then the other matchup, we have different matchups here.
When he wants to be the best player in the world.
I would agree. So you have Golden State and the Lakers in the other matchup.
Correct.
Who do you got?
So if I was to go with that one, I would say Golden State beats the Lakers.
Yeah.
I feel like there's too much star power. I feel like this is where the Lakers might choke. And, I don't think they would win a game in San Francisco.
Yeah. So then I have Sacramento and Memphis, and I got some issues with both of these teams. They're really young. I like the direction they're heading in. I'm gonna give it the slight advantage to Memphis because they're young and talented, but they were also in this position last year and went 6 games against Golden State. Hung kind of tough with them in the second round. I think that's gonna give them an advantage in this series. So give me Memphis. I'm not super confident, though, that either of these teams are going to make it to this point.
I go with Memphis as well. Like, from your matchups, I think Memphis would beat the Kings.
Yeah. Kings, just really good story, really good offensive team. And they're not bad defensively, but it's hard to put a lot of trust in such a young team like the Kings. So, Eastern Conference Finals, we both have Milwaukee, Boston. I would imagine you're going to go with Milwaukee. Being the Lakers fan that you are.
I think Boston, I don't like Boston. I hate the Celtics, but they just blew out the Bucks by like 40 points.
They did.
The other day. I feel like they're just a better team than the Bucks are. I feel like they have a lot more depth. Tatum's arguably one of the best players this year. I know they got Giannis, but I feel like when it's all said and done, Boston has a lot more depth. They're more of a complete team. I feel like Marcus Smart is a very big X factor for the Celtics. He's sort of that gritty kind of player. Someone that can slow down Drew Holiday if he needs to. So I'm going to go with Boston. I'll go in about 6 games. I think Boston in 6.
This is going to surprise you. I took Milwaukee. When these teams met in the playoffs last year, Boston won, and it was the same way with Miami in the Miami series. They really got by through the skin of their teeth. And that was with Milwaukee without Chris Middleton. As far as I know, he's healthy now. That could be a deciding factor. And you keep talking about Boston's depth. I think Milwaukee has really good depth, too. They have 6 guys who have averaged over 10 points a game throughout the season. And then 3 more guys I think I saw who are between 8 and 7 points. So I feel like they have a lot of scoring depth. And just Giannis, I would put him up there with LeBron and Jordan. Once he's on, you really can't defend him. He's just such a freight train.
He's one of the best ever, I would say. So I would agree with that, yeah.
So that's interesting that I'm the Celtics fan and I'm not taking the Celtics.
And I'm the Lakers fan taking the Celtics.
Exactly. Western Conference Finals, you have Phoenix and Golden State.
I'm going to go with Phoenix. I think Phoenix, Kevin Durant, he's going to be playing against his old team, Golden State. I feel like he's going to be hungry to dominate that series. Phoenix, they have a lot of guys hungry from 2 years ago, losing in the finals. Chris Paul's yet to win a championship. He's going to be motivated. Booker's going to be motivated. I'm going to go with Suns in that one.
So then I have the Suns and Grizzlies in the Western Conference Finals. And, this shouldn't surprise anyone. I will be going with the Suns. I think that they're poised to go on a deep run now that they got Durant. Like you said, they haven't lost since he's entered the lineup. I think they're going to be a scary good team. And like I said earlier, Memphis, I just don't think is there quite yet. But they keep heading in the right direction.
Correct, yeah.
So, NBA Finals. You have Phoenix and Boston. I think you're going to go with Phoenix.
I'm going to go with Phoenix. I think it's the year of the 4 seed. UConn just won as a 4 seed.
Yeah.
I think Phoenix will win as a 4 seed. I think it's the year of the 4 seed. I think Phoenix just way too much star power with KD. I think it's going to be back-to-back disappointments for the Celtics, and as long as the Celtics don't win a championship this year, I feel like it's a happy season for me. If the Lakers don't win.
I really want to see it happen, but I will. Just one of the reasons why I have reservations about the Celtics is with a rookie head coach. And I love Joe Mazzulla. Like, Joe Mazzulla is a West Virginia alum. I watched him play in college. Love the dude. But I'm treating him the way I would treat any rookie head coach. I kind of got to see it.
I feel like that's a special thing for you, a West Virginia guy coaching your favorite NBA team.
It's so crazy. I mean, before I get into that, I'll go ahead and talk about it. He was an assistant up there, or he was an assistant at West Virginia. I remember, not at West Virginia, like at a D2 school in West Virginia. And no one, really knew what he had, but we just knew he was in coaching. And the next thing you know, he's getting a job in the Celtics organization when they had Brad Stevens, and we were all kind of raised eyebrows. And he's been an assistant there for a while. He was with, I think, their G League team, and then now Ime Udoka, before they canned him, hired him as an assistant. And then he got suspended. They put Mazzulla in his place, and I was like, okay, well. And, as Bob Huggins is aging, I was like, okay, well, let's hope, as a Celtics fan, I was like, I want to hope that the Celtics are really good, but not good enough that Mazzulla gets another NBA head coaching job and then, sticks around, which you're just in denial at that point. Because if he had a really good year, someone was going to hire him. And he kept playing well. Boston locked him up. And, I'm happy, but I'm like, man, I would have loved to have seen him come back to Morgantown, but that's not going to happen now.
Right. Well, he's been in a great position, being like the third coach in line behind Brad Stevens, Udoka. Brad Stevens goes with that GM president role, and then, Udoka gets canned, by that investigation, and, he steps in. Now, I don't know if it's more of him being a good coach or all the talent that he has at his disposal. So,
I think he's done a pretty damn good job.
Yeah, you got to give him credit.
I would imagine he'd be coach of the year.
I think there's a very strong chance. I think the Kings coach, Mike Brown, is a good opportunity for that. But yeah, Joe Mazzulla definitely, I think, is top 3 or 4 top coaches in there.
So my finals pick, I will be going with Milwaukee. Lots of depth. I don't know. I like where Milwaukee's at. Probably foolish. You're kind of talking me into the Suns, but my picks have already been made. I've published them. So I went with Milwaukee. I think they got, starting lineup-wise, I think the Suns, are better than the Bucks, but I think the series is going to be won by depth, and I think the Bucks have a little bit of an advantage there. What do you think?
Your finals is the same one from 2 years ago.
It is, yes.
Yeah, the same one. I would say depth-wise, Milwaukee has an advantage. Phoenix got rid of a lot of their depth in the Kevin Durant trade. If you're going to go starting lineup, I feel like Phoenix's starting lineup is probably the best.
Yeah.
But, yeah, their bench got a little depleted. They lost, Cam Johnson. They lost Bridges. Great.
Yeah, in that Durant trade, yeah.
So, Milwaukee, they do have good depth. They have good hard-nosed guys. Bobby Portis is a beast. I remember from 2 years ago. He's still there. Mm-hmm. Brook Lopez. I got some big, beefy guys down low. So, I can see that's a good case you make for Milwaukee to beat Phoenix again.
And if the Celtics would play Milwaukee and lose to them, it softens the blow. One, because Milwaukee and Wisconsin, we both are huge Packers fans. So I've always kind of had a soft spot for the Bucks. I've always liked the Bucks. I wouldn't have a problem with them if they beat my Celtics. But also because another West Virginia connection, Javon Carter plays for the Bucks, has had a really good season. Coming off the bench, so that would soften the blow for sure.
And I believe A-Rod is also little minority owner of the Bucks, if I'm not mistaken.
He is, yeah. I would imagine he's going to keep that, which brings me. I did want to discuss this with you because we talked about it. I believe a few weeks ago, was Aaron Rodgers announcing his decision. My typical co-host James and I talked about it, but I wanted to bring on another Packers fan, preferably when the trade went through. It has not yet. Want to know your thoughts?
I think the Packers are handling it well. I want the trade to happen, both for Aaron and both for the Packers. I feel like a divorce is at the right time for this.
I argue it was last year.
Yeah, last year would have been a good time, but when you win an MVP, it's hard to trade an MVP. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So, no, and I totally get that. Yeah.
And if he didn't have a great season, I think they would have traded him last year. But I want it to happen. I want it to happen for Aaron. If he does go to the Jets, I will be a part Jets fan just for that, like just for his sake.
It's not so much that I would root against them. The Jets fans have really annoyed me in the last few weeks.
They are annoying, but I love Aaron Rodgers.
Like, I thought they were non-existent for the last decade. Now that Aaron Rodgers wants to play there, they've come out of the woodwork and just have annoyed the crap out of me over this trade and why it's not going through, how they're not going to give up anything to get him. And
I wanted to mention that we have the leverage in this one. The Packers have all the leverage.
I wouldn't say all the leverage, but I would agree. I think they have the leverage.
We all know the Jets, who they want. We all know that they set up the team to get Aaron Rodgers. We can wait because here's the thing. Lamar looks like he's going to Baltimore. There's really no other quarterbacks available on the market. We can hold as long as we want. The Jets don't want to go into the season with Zach Wilson as the quarterback. We all know they don't want to do that.
That's been my argument is which team can walk away from this more? Which team can afford to walk away from this? It's the Packers. If they were like, you know what? Deal off the table. You're not giving us what we want. We're done.
Yeah, I want them to get as many picks as possible. If we can get a first out of it, even better. But I feel like Packers are they're doing the right job in this situation. I think it's going to happen at the draft. I think at the draft you might see a trade happen. But I feel like we're being patient with it, and I think it's a smart thing to do. The closer it gets to the season, and Zach Wilson is the quarterback, I feel like the more anxious they'll be to make it happen.
I'm kind of secretly nothing against the Jets or I guess it kind of is against their fans, but I'm kind of hoping it doesn't happen. And like another team slides in and swoops in and steals Rodgers. I kind of want to see that happen, and then the Jets are left, sitting on their hands. And I've heard them also say that use Lamar as leverage. And I'm like, look, if you're not willing to give up a first-round pick for a 4-time MVP and future first-ballot Hall of Famer, do you really expect me to believe that you're not going to give up a minimum of 2 for Lamar Jackson?
Right. I mean, and from everything it sounds like with the Odell Beckham thing, looks like he's staying in Baltimore. So I feel like that's off the board.
Yeah, I said that even before they signed OBJ. I just don't see that happening. I think he's going to stay put. What are your thoughts on the situation of Lamar? Because James and I have been very, I don't want to say anti-Lamar, but we both think he's been handling this poorly.
So I feel like both sides have a case on. He looks at Deshaun Watson's deal. He's like, I deserve more money than Deshaun Watson. And he does. He's a lot better than Deshaun Watson. He's going to look at Deshaun Watson's contract sort of reset the market.
It did, yeah.
And he's going to look at that and be like, hey, I deserve more than that. But, Baltimore, they don't want to commit that 5 years to him because in my running quarterbacks don't last past 30.
Yeah.
Especially Lamar. Like, if you go look at Michael Vick didn't really, he did good with Philadelphia, but when he hit 30.
Well, I was going to say, he phased out of it. Like, especially when he, after he got out of prison, he wasn't a runner anymore. He was a thrower.
Right, exactly. And Lamar has not shown that he can throw the ball, effectively.
Right.
So, very inconsistent throwing. So he is a dominant runner. He leans towards the run, and I feel like when he gets closer to 30, more injuries occurs. He's not going to be as effective, running the ball. So I can see why the Ravens don't want to commit 5 years to him.
Well, I don't know if years have anything to do with it. Just from my standpoint, if I was the GM, I would not hesitate to give him what would it be? I'm trying to think. I'm trying to do math now, but I wouldn't hesitate to give him $50 million a year. The problem is I'm not giving you a fully guaranteed contract.
And the thing is, they offered him a 3-year, fully guaranteed contract, and he turned it down. I think he wants the full 5, like Deshaun Watson did. I feel like that's a big thing for him. So we'll see. But it looks like all the owners are colluding. They don't want to give him that kind of contract. So I feel like at the end of the day, Lamar might be forced to go.
So I'm sure you saw me make faces. I don't know. We probably disagree. I'm not saying there's not collusion. My whole thing is they're not colluding against Lamar because he's Lamar. They're colluding against, or if they are, they're colluding because they're drawing a line in the sand and they're saying we are not going to give in to fully guaranteed contracts. Like drawing a line in the sand and being like, we are not going to make this the norm. And Lamar Jackson just happens to be suffering for it.
I agree with you. I think, they're just sort of line in the sand. I feel like they want to lower that market a little bit. They don't want to go, crazy Deshaun Watson kind of money. They want to sort of bring the market down a little bit. And Lamar just happens to be the guy in the middle of it. So I agree with you. I agree with you on that point.
If it was Patrick Mahomes, he would have gotten a deal by now.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, 2 Super Bowls. He's the best quarterback probably maybe of this generation. Who knows?
All right, so we hit on everything, and I know you said you had somewhere to be at 7:30. Is that still on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
I got to head out. 7:30.
Yeah, I'll let you go. It's 7:20. I appreciate you coming on, my man, talking NBA playoffs and a little bit of football.
Man, I appreciate it. We'll do it again soon.
Absolutely. Later.
I know we had a little bit of connection issues, but hopefully next time, we'll get that fixed a little bit.
Yeah, for real. I've had it pop up a couple times. Poor connection. It's not uncommon with Skype. I've had connection issues before with them, but I'll let you go.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Later.